All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How to Start a Computer Animation and Video Game Design Program at Your School. My name is Jeff Bishop, and I am a teacher at Putnam City West High School. And let me just express how absolutely excited I am to be here. I basically begged, borrowed, stole the opportunity to be able to be here and to present to you. And I come to you today with something that I am so ridiculously excited about, like I honestly can't even completely convey it with words. Because this department, computer animation and video game design, is realistically, it's the thing I work towards. I Once upon a time I was at the University of Central Oklahoma, and I graduated from there, and there was realistically no jobs here in the Oklahoma City area. It was the following year that everybody went on the initial of the strike to try and get a pay raise. That was like a long time ago. Anyway, I got a job down in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex teaching art because that's basically where I started off. But I always had a passion for technology. I love technology. I love computers. And I remember one time we were watching a movie. It was brand new. It was fresh in the movie theater a long time ago here, and it was Beauty and the Beast. And there was this scene where this camera came down through this candelabra. There was all these candles, and then the lighting and the shadows and highlights on this basically chandelier was so perfect. I realized real quick, was like, there's no way that was hand drawn. It was too good. And I went to my university and I was like, this is what I want to learn to do. And they said, well, I said, they did animation with a computer. And they said, well, we don't have a program like that. So later on in my career, I'm down in Texas and I'm teaching art, and I'm teaching drawing, painting, sculpting, jewelry, ceramics. I'm teaching this stuff and basically enjoying my life. I mean, I wasn't a great art teacher, but I was enjoying what I was teaching. I was enjoying the students. This brand new program started up of computer animation. And I was so excited. I was like, this is what I've been wanting to learn for a long time. So I got in and I helped, over the course of the next series of years, kind of help pioneer the program to some extent there in Texas. And now, if you go to Texas, and you generally go to any of the school districts in the area, you're going to find that they all have computer animation departments. And then a new department kind of came out, and that was video game design. We actually called it video game programming and design. And I was absolutely at the ground level of getting that one started. We used to have all kinds of conversations about what we should teach, how we should teach it, and so forth. And of course, I leaned more towards the animation side, and everybody else that I taught with, they were all programmers. So we had to try and coalesce these two ideas together. Long story made short, I taught computer animation, video game design down in Texas for about 10, 15 years and had a lot of success. Then we decided that we really wanted to help out with my mother and father-in-law that still live here in Oklahoma. My wife is from Putnam City Original, PCO. So anyway, don't say PCO around her, make sure, man. Anyway, so we moved back into the area, and I went to school for a year, and then decided, I really want to be a teacher again. I really missed it. So I got back into teaching and could not find a single school in the area that had computer animation or video game design, except the tech centers. And I tried to get a job at a tech center. But as most of you guys know, like I know, getting a job at a tech center is pretty difficult. So I eventually hampered upon Putnam City West High School, and they hired me to be their programming teacher, which I knew a little bit about. And so I got in, and I told my old principal that just moved to another school, Avery Gilliland. Hey, buddy. I told him, if you'll hire me, I'll start a computer animation video game design department here as well. And he was like, okay. Not really anybody in my district ever realizing that I was totally serious about it. Started the program. We've been up and running now for about 4 years, and I have been through a bunch of stuff, and it is my goal to be the guy that helps pioneer computer animation in the state of Oklahoma. There's absolutely no reason why we should not have it at basically almost every single local high school in Oklahoma. Um, you'd be amazed how many kids are excited about it. So you have signed up in this class, in this little session, on how to start a computer animation and video game design department at your school. Now, down here, I hope you notice this. This is my name. I'm Jeff Bishop. I teach at Putnam City West High School. I have a web page. It is www.paratutor.com. Paratutor, just think parachuter, but I'm here to teach you something. So I'm coming in to teach you something. I'm the paratutor. And as you saw on my opening page, and my web page, my email address is jbishop@putnamcityschools.org. All right, so if you're here and you're attending this class, I hope you're honestly excited about what we're going to be working with, because I want to help you establish your own computer animation and video game design department at your local school. The tech centers have it, and Lord bless them, thank you that they have it. I think it's absolutely amazing. But there's more of a need than just having it at only the tech centers. So here's some of the questions you guys may have. First of all, what software do I need? When we first started animation in my old district, goodness gracious, we went through about 4 different software packages before we finally rested upon the one that I'm going to be telling you guys about today. How much is this thing going to start to cost? I mean, to get this thing going, how expensive is it going to be? That is always a huge consideration with school districts, because we all have limited budgets. Who's going to take these classes? I may be from a small school in rural Oklahoma, but I would love to start this program. Who's going to take that class? Great question. If I start this program, how do I keep from looking like an idiot? Right? I mean, I'm just going to take it where it's at. Honestly, we all want to be the professional that we see of ourselves in our minds. I'm a professional, and I want to present myself that way. But if I don't know everything that I'm talking about, it's kind of like that. It's the fear that starting something new is why we don't do a lot of great things sometimes. And we have people around us that desperately want us to push past that level of fear and accomplish something great and be one of those people that just does it. And there's a lot of rewards from that as well. All right, how do I get permission from my admin? Not only your principals at your school, but admin above them, assistant superintendents, your IT guys, your CTE department head, if you have one. Will it be in competition with others? Now, honestly, this was not a question that I ever really thought was going to pop up. It was kind of one of those questions that kind of blew me away the first couple of times I heard it, because I really wasn't expecting it. Am I going to be in competition with other people? And I was thinking to myself, who am I in competition with? And I kept hearing a number of times, well, they teach that at the tech center. Why would you want to teach that at the high school? And so, I mean, I've had like really high level people ask that question. Well, we can't do that because they're doing that. And honestly, I'm not in competition with the tech centers. We're both schools. I send my kids to them. So why are we talking about competing with one another when I'm actually more on board with why don't we complete one another? I introduce them. You finish up the high level training. Boom. Amazingness happens. We're not in competition at all. We work together. And in a perfect world, that's always the way it's going to work. So, why is this coursework important? Why in the world would we even offer this at all? Honestly, because your kids desperately want to be involved. I mean, I can kind of sum that up in a nutshell, but we're going to go even further in a little bit. All right, can my kids get jobs doing this? Absolutely. Goodness gracious, absolutely. I mean, I can't even emphasize how much. All right, so let's just talk about the first question. What software package am I going to need? Well, we have two different groups of software that you're going to be working with. And the first one is animation. And in animation, the big program that both of these departments kind of revolve around is Autodesk Maya. Now, is that the only computer animation program out there? Oh my goodness, no. When I teach at Oklahoma City University, or I teach at Oklahoma Christian, I'm teaching Autodesk Maya, I'm teaching 3D Studio Max, and I'm either teaching Cinema 4D, or there's a new one that's just recently come out. It's really kind of taken off. So there's multiple packages out there, but everybody in the industry will tell you learn one package, and then you can adapt to all the other ones. But Autodesk Maya is the one that we're going to be talking about. All right. From there, generally every school district has Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, Premiere. I mean, Adobe is pretty much like the 800-pound gorilla that's out there that kind of rules the world of 2D. And so photos, photo imaging, graphics, all that stuff like that is all taken care of with Adobe. And quite honestly, Adobe is really the only company that doesn't play well with school districts. We'll talk about that here in just a couple minutes. But Adobe's not necessarily my favorite. If I could replace them, I would, but there's nothing. All of the software that I try to work with is all industry standard. And so in that, it's really, really super important to give students the skills that they can use to go get a job with. And if it's not that skill, then honestly, I'm not even interested in having it in my room. All right. From there, I've got a new program that I implemented in my classroom last year that's 3D Coat. The 3D Coat is amazing because 3D Coat is a lot like this. Are you ready for this? I'm going to switch camera angles because I really want you to be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. So let's say that I have an object. This is a little camera lens that does not work on the big camera that you're looking at me through. Dang it. All right. So if I were to make this in Maya three-dimensionally, when I get done making it, it looks just like this, but it's all in a color that we call 50-50. It's half white, half black, or perfectly gray. Okay? So with this object that I have right there, I have to go in and I have to color and I have to texture it. All these little fine details, the little words on here, the red, all the little writing, all that stuff like that. That's all texturing work. And texturing work is best done when I'm not working two-dimensionally, which is what Photoshop does. Photoshop is all 2D. Well, the 3D Coat that we were just talking about allows you to treat this thing as a three-dimensional object. I can rotate it and I can paint on it, and then I can rotate it and I can paint on it, and I can project the words on there, and I can make this object look exactly like I want it to start off with, and I never have to worry about the two-dimensional nature of Photoshop and it kind of hindering me. All right, so then we get into video game design. Video game design works with all the programs that we were talking about above. So it works with Autodesk Maya, it works with Photoshop and Premiere. Premiere, by the way, is what we edit all of our animations together towards the end of the year, and we actually make a film. And then we have 3D Coat, which allows me to treat that three-dimensional object as a three-dimensional object. So in video game design, we're going to be working with a video game engine called Unity 3D. Unity is basically the second most popular video game engine that's out there. The first one is called Unreal. Unreal is amazing, but it kind of requires a big team of people working together to create a game. Unity is its little brother, and Unity allows you to have smaller teams and be able to make what you need to be able to make. From there, Unity comes with a program, Microsoft Visual Studios, that allows you to do all of your programming in Microsoft Visual Studios and then bring it into Unity 3D to make the game. So all of these programs actually work together. And I know you're looking at a list of like 5 or 6 programs. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to learn all this stuff? No, not to start off with. You know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's all I'm asking. If you want to pioneer a program at your school, then you do not have to have all these programs. You can start off with just Maya, Premiere, and 3D Coat. Okay? So those 3, and in the course of the first school year, you're going to learn all of those. Your students are going to learn all of those. You're going to be doing stuff in class that will amaze everybody in your school. They will come around and they'll be like, your kid made that? Yes, they did. Wow, I don't even understand how they did that. Well, that's why I'm here. So then the big question is, how much do these programs cost? Well, I can tell you if you bought a professional version of Maya, that's a $7,000 to $10,000 piece of software. You're like, oh my gosh, why am I watching this video? That's my entire budget this year. We all know how much Photoshop costs and so on and so forth. But the great thing about it is, check this out, with the one exception of Adobe, which most school districts already have, the rest of all of those programs for students and teachers are absolutely free. I would not have been able to start this program at Putnam City West if any of these programs had a price tag on them. Fortunately, I was part of a school district back when Maya did cost money. We had a district that would pony up the money and allow us to do what we needed to do. But Maya got a clue, and they came out with educational versions, which, by the way, the educational version for Maya is exactly like the professional version. There's really nothing that you get from having the professional version except for the fact that you can make money with it. That's the big difference. That's the big difference. All right, so now we've got that question answered. Who's going to take these classes? Well, generally every student in the world that likes computers. I even have students that come into my classroom that don't like computers and they want to take my program. Why? Because every kid in the world growing up now wants to make or play video games for a living. Am I wrong? You know kids that are like this. Well, you get to be the teacher for those kids and teach them how to make video games and make money making video games. It's awesome. All right. So let's just talk some numbers. So Francis Tuttle is the tech center that's close to me. I send all kinds of my students to them. Francis Tuttle, they have a 6-month waiting list for students to get into their animation program. Man, when I was in high school, goodness gracious, you were lucky if I wanted to, do anything outside of my school. There were cute things walking around everywhere that I wanted to get to know. Sadly, I'm not a ladies' man. But anyway, I don't think I would have ever left my school or put my name on a list for a 6-month waiting list to try to leave my school. That's crazy. Now, I'm proud of them that they've got a department, but if they've got a 6-month waiting list, think of how many kids are trying to get into the program that can't. Yeah, that kind of hurts me too. If you're any level of an educator, hopefully you get that point of what I just made. All right, Tulsa Tech has 300 students on their waiting list. 300 students, and this is the Tulsa area. 300 students on their waiting list. I was talking to some people and they told me that number. I was absolutely flabbergasted. Honestly, I was gobsmacked. I was like, are you kidding me? 300 kids on their waiting list? That just shows you the amazingness of what they're doing at the tech centers. And while I will never fully be able to replicate their program, I can help them with this 6-month waiting list and those 300 kids. I can help. We can work together in tandem and we can create some really great stuff. Then this is another thing that I discovered from some of my students. Some of my students at Putnam City West didn't even know that our local tech center had an animation program or had a video game design program. It just escaped them. So when they came and they took my class, I was honestly reaching kids that they had no other visible outlet for this level of creativity that they wanted to get into. They didn't know that program. And then when they come and they took my program, needless to say, they're now interested in what we're doing and they're interested in the tech center. Pretty awesome. Many students actually return from the tech center, and I began to ask why. One of my star students this year, absolutely a young lady that I just think is one of the most amazing students that I've worked with in a while. She came back from the tech center. And then I asked her, I said, how come you came back? And she said, well, the program that I was really excited about, it didn't really turn out to be what I thought it was going to be. How many times do we hear people in college say that? Well, I've changed majors 6 times. How come? It wasn't really the program that I thought it was going to be. And that's exactly what's happening with some of these tech centers. So when they come and they take my class, these countless amount of kids that come and take my class, I then get the opportunity to introduce them to the fundamental layers of that. And then if they go on to the tech center, they're good. They know what's going on. They want to be there. They're excited about it. And here's the thing, the first year I started my program, I had 2 to 3 times the amount of students in the entire tech center program. And a number of those kids exited the program. They were like, I want to go be a veterinarian. Well, this happened to one of my students last year. I just want to play games. And I was like, man, that's wonderful. Just think of all the sacrifice that you would have made in college or at the tech center had you not had the opportunity to come take my class first. And that's what I am hoping to help you create as well. You get to create that gateway for students. And believe it or not, you'll have parents that come and thank you. My kid does not want to make video games for a living anymore. Not because they hate video games, not because they hate the programs that you taught them, just because it just wasn't them. And that's cool. That's awesome. All right. So if you start a program like this, if you're fearless enough, if you're brave enough to start this program, how do you keep from looking like an idiot? Right? Well, here we go. Question number 1, is there training for me? The absolute answer to that question is yes. Oh my goodness, yes, there is training for you. Because it's nice to be able to know what in the world you're talking about. Is there some established curriculum? Because guess what? They don't write textbooks for this class. Why? Because as soon as they come out with the textbook, they come out with a new version of software, and that textbook is now replaceable. It's garbage. You can use it, but it's not. It's a detriment. It's not. It's a hindrance. It's a pain to have to figure out where they move stuff. So, is there an established curriculum for you? Absolutely. Hi, my name is Jeff Bishop, and I made it for you. Do you have to write lesson plans? That depends on your district. Can I be honest with you? I'm that guy. You know, that guy that as soon as the assistant principal starts talking about it around and coming and doing evaluations, that's when I start writing lesson plans. Now, am I just anti-lesson plans? Oh my gosh, no. Because my lesson plans, well, they live mostly up here, are totally and completely fully implemented in the video training that I make. On paratutor.com, you're going to see all of the endless amounts of videos that I've created for students to follow along with. So my lesson plans aren't on paper. My lesson plans are digital. Now, if I could get some assistant principals on board with that, bro, I would be completely happy, because my entire year of lessons are in video format, where I'm working in the program and you get to watch what I'm doing, and I explain every single piece and part of what I'm doing, and then you get to follow along with me, and you get to build the project while I'm building the project, and that's how you learn it. The beautiful thing about the video training is we get all of our kids that can't read back, that have dyslexia or some kind of IEP 504. We get kids that have attention problems. We get those kids back because it's a video. If you'll notice, I work very, very hard to make my videos as entertaining as possible. I change camera angles on you. I'm looking different directions. I've got different things going on my screen. I've got different levels of technology that I'm trying to do absolutely everything I can to make my instruction videos as engaging as possible. And crazily, on this series of videos, this one's probably one of the worst ones that I've ever made, because it's an hour long. All my videos that are on my webpage are about 10 minutes long, which is considerably nicer on your attention span. So to answer this question, do you have to write lesson plans? It depends on your district. Leave it there. Distance learning. Is this a platform that you can do distance learning with? Absolutely. All of the lessons that we're going to be going through all year long are on the web page, and they're available for you to go through, and they're available for your students to go through. And whether they're at the house due to pandemic or concerns, or they're running a fever, temperature, whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as they have access to a computer, boom, they're still learning. I have students that have gone to Mecca. They're Islamic, and they've gone to visit the Kaaba in Mecca, and they're still doing lessons at night so that they don't fall behind. It's pretty cool. So where do you start? My original web page is www.digitalfxbook.com. It was supposed to be digitaltextbook.com, but sadly digital textbook was taken, so I came up with some little weird hybrid that really never works, but nevertheless, digitaltextbook.com. All of the coursework that you're going to need is on there. It's all in video format. Your students can watch it, you can watch it, and not only can you watch it and your students watch it, but you can learn right alongside as we do the lessons together. And the beautiful thing about this is, let's say you choose to implement this program at your school this year, next year, whenever, right? You can honestly almost just kind of babysit your classroom and be doing lessons on your own so that you're learning the software. And during class, it's absolutely perfect because you're walking around and you've got that one-on-one interaction as a student might have difficulties or they're just needing something troubleshooted. And so you have a teacher teaching the programs, and yet you get to have the full interaction working with your kids. That's one of the reasons why I actually have Digital FX Book and Paratutor.com, is because as a teacher, I want to spend my time with my kids. And that's just kind of the guy that I am. All right, so Digital FX Book is the old web page. The new web page is Paratutor.com, and I am transferring all of the training over from Digital FX Book right now to Paratutor.com, and then all of the training that's on there is all going to be completely and totally replaced, especially now as I have my really cool little streaming rig now. I've been working on building up all of this technology and all these computers and all the cool amazingness that you see going on the screen for about the past year. I wanted to take my videos to a completely new place. All right, so digitalfxbook.com, Paratutor.com, and then if you have any problems at all, shoot me an email, jbishop@putnamcityschools.org. Let us together partner together to build a dynamic and amazing department all across the state of Oklahoma. You have everything that you need. All right, so can you really do this? If you do the homework, if you learn the software, yes, you can totally do this. And here's the thing, use whatever videos off of mine that you like. Forget the rest, I don't care. And it's your program. Teach the way that you teach. It's totally cool as well. I don't want to replace you. I don't want to do your job. I do want to help you build something amazing at your school. I hope that makes sense. You can accomplish this. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to. All right. So here's a breakdown of the year. The very first thing that we're going to learn is we're going to learn 3D modeling. 3D modeling is just making that three-dimensional object in a computer. That's all it is. Okay. From there, you're going to learn texturing. Texturing is what I talked about earlier with 3D Coat. You're going to learn how to paint, color, texture that object, and yes, we're getting rid of Photoshop. From there, you're going to learn how to rig your character. Well, what does rigging mean? I get making the object, I get texturing the object. What is rigging? Well, rigging is putting bones inside this little character so that he can bounce around and he can move his head and he can look at you. I mean, the more I mess with this, the more that would be kind of a fun little movie to make. Anyway, so rigging is putting bones inside of your character. From there, you have animation, and that is making that model that's been textured and rigged move. One of the greatest lessons that I have on the webpage that I'm ridiculously excited about. I went back to college because I wasn't as amazing with animation as I wanted to be. And so what I did was I went in and I took a college course that taught me how to do video game design. And one of the lessons that we did was animation. And we literally did a professional level walk cycle animation in the video. And I fell in love with the lesson so much, I like ran to my classroom and I started recording videos so that my students could learn to animate. And so it's an absolutely awesome little deal. Next thing that we're going to learn is we're going to learn rendering. So once you have a character that's been textured, rigged, and animated, then we then render it out so we have a little movie section of a little chunk of film that we can watch. With those little chunks of film, you build up a list of 20 to 40 of them. You can edit them together and you can actually make a little movie. And that's all before Christmas. Right? Now, I have all the lessons all built for you. If you follow the schedule, you keep your students working, you'll hit this before Christmas. And the reason why we do it before Christmas is because, goodness gracious, after Christmas is when we come in and we start creating our story. And your story is everything. You can have the best modeling, texturing, rigging, animating, blah, 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 all that stuff like that. But if you have a junky story, you have something that's not worth watching. And so I have a bulletproof 4-step method that you can use to teach your students how to make a really great story. And I learned it from my little girl when she was in elementary school. And she has her own child now. So then this is how long I've been using this little method. I had the director of Trolls. He's actually really the guy that created the whole storyline, all the characters and stuff to Trolls. He did Lego 2, and he did one of the Shreks, a bunch of movies. Anyway, he was he's a graduate from Putnam City North. And when he came back to visit the district, he came to my classroom to visit us. And he asked me, he said, what's the single most important thing that you teach? And I was like, man, I teach story. I teach people how to write a good story. He goes, really? Tell me how you write a story. And I did my little 4-step method with him. And he looked at me and he goes, you teach that to your students? I said, yeah. He goes, do you realize your students have better information and know more than most of the people that I work with in Hollywood? And I was like, yeah, Michael Bay. So anyway, story creation. From there, we take our story, and your students will break themselves into little groups of 3 to 4 members. They write their own original story, and when they get done writing their own original story, from there you got to go and you got to kind of visualize it. So what is that story going to physically look like? Now we get into storyboarding and we create our own little story reels. We have a brand new program that we're implementing this year that helps you do this really simply, quickly, and easily. From there, they're going to spin. Because honestly, writing your own original story and doing your storyboards and your story reels, all that's on the webpage, by the way. This is only about 2-3 weeks worth of work, second semester. So what do they spend the rest of their semester doing? Making their film. Because you get nothing for free in Maya. And then if you want grass, you have to make the grass. You have to make the trees. You have to make the buildings. You have to make the inside of your buildings. I mean, you get nothing for free. And so they spend all the rest of the semester realizing that story, making that story come about, making it happen. And it's a lot of work. It's really, really, really a lot of work. But that's when they actually go in and they use the knowledge that they got first semester. Because usually by Christmas they're tired of watching videos. They're tired of doing what I do. They're tired of doing, the little standard lessons. They want to do something fun. So they write their own original story. Now they're excited. Then they come in, they storyboard it, and they get their story reels done so that we can visualize it. And then they spend the rest of the semester using that information to make their story. And trust me, that's when the real learning occurs. That's when really, really, really they go, whoa, all that stuff we did first semester. Yep. And guess what? The videos are still there. So when they ask questions, you're like, oh, I'm pretty sure that a video covered that. You should go back and watch that video. And they're, but they really learn at that time. All right. So while they're making their films, the next thing that they're going to do is they're going to start rendering out the little movie pieces. They're going to edit those movie pieces together. If you'll notice, all of this mirrors what we did first semester. There's a whole entire reason why we do everything that we do first semester. And then once they get all their everything edited together with sound effects and some credits and some music, boom, it's time for the film festival. And at the end of the year, we have a little film festival. We get together in the auditorium. We play everybody's movies that turn stuff in. You want to make an absolutely indelible impression upon your students, show their film in the film festival. That's it. I have more students come back and take every single one of my advanced courses because of the film festival. They get to invite everybody in the world that they want to be proud of them to come watch the movie that they made. And then the whole way home, I know they're in their car going, oh, and I made this, and you don't realize how hard that was, and we did. They have all these little stories about the film that they made. It's incredible. It's incredible. Who would not want to teach this? This is one of the greatest courses ever. All right. So from there, next question. So how do you get permission to start this? It's really not that difficult. You go talk to your admin. I went and I sat down in Avery Gilliland's office and I said, hey, boss, I really want to start this program. And he had some questions for me because guess what? Every single boss in the world has bosses themselves, and they have these questions that are going to come up. And these questions, if they don't have a solid, legitimate answer for, the answer is going to be, you guessed it, no. No, we're not going to do that. No, that's crazy. You want to remove as many of the no's as you can to get this program going. So let me help you remove the no's. So as you go to talk to your admin, they're going to have questions for you. You're going to be able to tell them this program is free, because the first question they're going to have is, how much is this going to cost me? Because he or she is working with a very limited budget and they only have so much money. And so they're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how in the world are we going to afford this? All of our the program itself is free. The software is free. You have a working curriculum. You have a working curriculum that honestly, you could just babysit a lab for a year or two while you learn the software as well. Then I'm honestly expecting that you start working up your own lessons. And here's the thing, like you come up with a really cool lesson, we might be able to put it up on ParaTutor too. You have a place to do all of the training that you need to do, and you have a place to be prepared. I work with a phenomenal young teacher. We're basically the two CTE teachers at my school. And she is very, very focused on doing her training first, which I totally and completely respect her for. Because sadly, I'm definitely the guy that's like, hey, look, an airplane, let's fly this thing. How do we do this? And usually by the time I land, I've figured out how to do it. She's not that way. So I've got the place that you need to do all your training and be prepared. Then you just tell them, hey, have some faith in me, boss. That's it. The program's free. The software is free. I have curriculum. I have a place to learn how to do all this stuff myself. If you'll just have faith in me, we'll make something amazing. Then you're going to go and you're going to start talking to your district. Your district has, for Putnam City, it's like in October, you can put together a little packet of paperwork to get the class officially accepted into the coursework for your school district, to get it added to the course catalog. And then here's some of the benefits. People want to be excited about your school, especially right now. Goodness gracious. Everybody wants to be excited about school and what you're doing there. You're going to be doing something that nobody else is doing in your area. I mean, you're going to be pioneering something amazing that students desperately want. And when you do that, money's going to show up. Why can I tell you that? Because money has showed up for me. I just started this program and I was doing it to the best of my ability, and all of a sudden esports computers come walking in my room, and TVs come walking into my room, and cameras come walking into my room. Did I happen to mention that I work for a phenomenal school district and I have an incredible administrative support? Corey Boggs over in IT that heads up our program, my 2 or 3 CTE directors that I had, my principals. And when you do something exciting, people want to, people will come to your bonfire just to watch your fire burn. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You do something innovative, amazing, and incredible, you don't have to worry about the money. The money will show up. I have written and been a part of 4 successful grants. So these include Carl Perkins, these include lotteries, these include Yes grants. In fact, I have gotten really particularly addicted to spending other people's money. I love it. Your community will show up, and don't get me wrong, you're going to have your naysayers. You're going to have teachers down the hall that are going to be like, hey, what are you trying to do? Blah, blah, blah. And if I worried about people that were that way, I would never do anything great. And that's my purpose, is to live this life the way that a life should be lived. All right. You're going to have kids in your room, oh my gosh, that are going to absolutely salivate over what you're going to be doing in the classroom. They're going to be so excited. They're going to be just tickled pink, and then they're going to be mad at you at the end of the year because I update and upgrade all my curriculum every single year. It always gets better. There's always more stuff that gets added, and students are going to be like, oh my gosh, but But how come you didn't do that while I was here? Well, because 2 years ago we didn't have this program at the school at all. Everything improves. If it doesn't improve, it declines. And so you're going to have kids. They're going to be so excited about what you've got going on. They can't wait to be in your room. There's elementary school kids that walk into my building. Parents look at me and go, "Oh, you're going to take his class when you get old enough." You know what I'm saying? It's amazing. All right. I hope you're excited because, man, I love teaching when I teach. Here's the question I keep getting: will you be in competition with others? Can I just resoundingly say no, no, no? Goodness gracious, no. If anything, your students will be better prepared for the tech schools. They will actually know what they're going to learn. They'll be so tech center numbers will stay consistent. You will help build their programs. The tech center won't have to necessarily come and recruit your kids out of your classroom. When you take them over to the tech center, if you're affiliated with the tech center, most people are, you'll go in there and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, my teacher name is Mr. B. Oh my gosh, Mr. B, Mr. B, look, they have a motion capture system like you do. Mr. B, they have better this. Oh my gosh, they have better that. Oh my gosh, I want to be a part of this program because look at all the stuff that they have going on." Your kids will absolutely flood their program. And the numbers that they have right now on the waiting list and the kids that are gonna drop out of their program, that stuff goes away. It's my dream, honestly, to help those tech centers grow. Goodness gracious, we're doing some amazing stuff over there. Let's help those people grow. Man, like grow. There should be like 4 or 5 animation teachers over there. There should be 2 or 3 more programming teachers over there. There should be web design. There should be photo. I mean, there's so many kids that we have going on right now. We should get kids excited about what they can do in their future. Sorry, I love what I teach, and so I want you to have that same kind of fire in your program as well. We're not in competition. I love to say this. I'm not competing with you. I am completing with you. Let's be a team and build something amazing together. Putnam City West has your back. Jeff Bishop, paratutor.com, has your back. I want to help you build this program if you want to build it. All right. So we're not competing with anybody. Why is this coursework important? Can kids get jobs doing this? Yes. Now I'm not going to go yes like I did before, right? But I just want to pull out some numbers for you. If you take all of the sports, the professional level sports, NFL, MLB, NBA, soccer, forgive me. And you take all of those sports and you take the revenue, the money that they made this year from, equipment and jerseys and ticket sales and promotions, all that, everything that they make. You lump sum all of the sports together. You take NFL money, you made blah blah blah, MLB, you put it in there, NBA, put it in there. All these sports together, you lump sum all their money together into this big, humongous, astronomical number. It was still not even half of the money that the movie industry made. Not even half. And all the money that the movie industry made, the video game industry made 3 times that much money over what the movie industry made. So if you talk about as much money as we pour into sports, and I'm not hating on the sports program. I run the Jumbotron for Putnam City West. I'm the guy that does the cool animations and all that stuff like that up there on the big screen. Okay, so I'm not hating on sports, but goodness gracious, I would love to take $30 million and build an animation center with it. I'm just saying. And the movie industry made twice as much as all the major league sports does, and the video game industry made 3 times as much as the movie industry made, that made hopefully you get the picture. So here's some former students of mine that are doing the work. Timon Pitts went to one of the top animation schools in the entire United States after exiting my classroom, and now works for Weta Digital in New Zealand. That is Peter Jackson's studio of Lord of the Rings and King Kong and so forth. Timon works for that studio in New Zealand. They flew him and his wife to New Zealand. I have pictures on my webpage of him standing on his back deck overlooking the ocean. I hate the guy. Man, he makes like $50 to $75 an hour. And in New Zealand, there's a minimum 60-hour work week. And he's in his 20s. He's in his 20s. And I regularly go to the movie theater just looking for projects, looking for movies that he worked on. The most recent one that we found accidentally, Mortal Engines. My student's name, Timon Pitts, was in the ending credits of that movie. Some of the best feelings ever. Best feelings ever. Trey. Trey was in my class. This kid would animate when everybody else was playing games. He just pitched a storyboard to Nickelodeon, and now he's driving to LA. Like right now, he's driving to LA. I literally found out about this a day or two ago. Michael, I call him Mikey. Me and Mikey, we talk all the time. He worked for a company called 1080 Studios down in Austin, Texas. As he was working for this company, 1080 Studios down in Austin, Texas, he worked on Life After People Season 1 and Season 2 for the History Channel. And he also worked on another TV show called Jurassic Fight Club. And he got an Emmy Award nomination for his work on Jurassic Fight Club when the dinosaurs are doing damage to each other and they tear like a chunk out of one of the dinosaurs. He was the guy that would go in and paint in all the musculature and all the damage, the blood, the guts, and gore on the channel. I was actually mad at the History Channel because they nerfed like half of his work because he had it like, splatter and all kinds of stuff. And he's like, and they're like, we're the History Channel. It can't be that. So they had to go back in and scale it all back. Josh is a former student of mine. I actually got to be college professors with this guy at Richland College. We both taught video game concepts there at the school. He started a video game company out of his garage with a couple of his buddies that he met in college called Solar Purge. At one point in time, Solar Purge was ranked in the top 150 games in the world, indie games in the world. He worked on it with Matt Anwar and a couple of others. The last name there, Abdullah. I've kind of lost communication with Abdullah. Sadly, he moved out to Hollywood, California, and was working on a bunch of projects for Netflix and for movies and TV and so on and so forth. And so I've had a lot of kids go out there and do some really amazing stuff. I currently represent 4 out of 5 of the top animation schools in the United States of America with former students. I have Noman in California, Ringling, School of Art and Design in Orlando and Florida, Full Sail, which is where Timon went. And then I actually have a little girl that went to Vancouver Film School up in Vancouver, Canada. The only one that I like is Savannah College of Art and Design. And yeah, that kind of bothers me. All right, so here are the classes that you're going to need to get added. You can find all these on OK Career Tech, but here's the basic classes. So the first class that I started off with was Fundamentals of 3D Motion Graphics. If you just start that one class, you have started an entire department. Fundamentals of 3D Motion Graphics is like the one class that I have the most absolutely perfectly nailed out on the web page. 3D animation, 3D modeling, this last year was the first year that I had those as advanced classes. Each one of those individual classes did not have enough students in it to make by themselves. So me and the counselors actually paired those 2 groups of students together. It was beautiful because they worked together the whole time. By the way, the numbers there's the OCAS codes. So I've given you the OCAS codes. You can pull syllabus off of there. You can pull everything that you need off of the web page. and take it as paperwork I did to your head principal, and boom, and then just tell them everything's free. For game design, these are classes that I have as well. I originally got hired to be the programming teacher, and I taught advanced programming. Of course, I started off with C++, which is not the language of video games. The language of video games is very much C Sharp. I'm adding the C Sharp class this year if we get to be back in the building. And C Sharp is definitely the programming language of video games. So I added that class, and I'm actually making the advanced programming class an advanced programming class. So basically the way that it works is you have C Sharp programming, which is the first class, and in that class I'm going to teach everybody how to be a C Sharp programmer, completely and totally aside from video games. Then you come back and you take the advanced programming class. There's kind of a hook. So when kids learn C Sharp programming, here comes the hook. I then say, well, if you come back and you take my advanced programming class next year, then we're going to spend all year long using your C Sharp training to make video games. All year long, you're doing nothing but making video games in Unity with your C Sharp programming abilities. Pretty good hook, isn't it? All right. The one class that I do not have adopted yet is Fundamentals of Video Game Design. That's the one that's right here. And this one's going to be my capstone course, because if you look at Fundamentals of 3D Motion Graphics, they're learning Maya, animation, modeling, and rigging. They're learning character design. They're learning how to make weapons, how to make backgrounds, how to make vehicles, yada, yada, and how to make a move. Then I have a whole other group, usually a whole other group of different kinds of brains that are doing the programming side of it. And you put all of those different personalities, all of those different brains together, the artsy-fartsy guys, the level designers that just want to make the game fun, the animators that they're super excited about making the gun do whatever, and then you take the modeling and rigging guys that can take a model that I give them and they can turn into something that can be used with a motion capture machine. And you put all those guys together with music guys and the programmers, boom, we can make a game together. And that is the whole purpose behind Fundamentals of Video Game Design, is to get all those personalities together like one company. And we're going to build a game together all year long. And then towards the end of the year, take those high school students, when they've gotten 1 or 2 levels successful in a game, to some video game conferences and let them present their games to professionals at the conference and just enjoy the video game conference. That's my grand notion right there. That's my plan, my dream. All right, so you may be wondering to yourself, okay, so how in the world do we get all this stuff started? We obviously just finished up all the PowerPoint presentation, which is really, really good. Oh, I don't really care for PowerPoint presentations, but now let me show you guys some stuff. Are you ready? All right, so here we go. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is my webpage, paratutor.com. I've got all the links and everything all built in there. And so basically most of everything is organized. I'm still in development on the webpage, so it's not a lot prettier than this. So for the prettiness and all the really good content, I'm going to take you to my old webpage, which is digitalfxbook.com. And in here, you're going to see everything. So you want to start off with Fundamentals of 3D Motion Graphics. Boom, here's your class. There's your curriculum. There's all the training that you need. I would suggest for you to go in and do all of this training in here. You start off with making a little Greek temple. And you're going to make this little Greek temple in Maya. I'm a big time Iron Man guy, so I have lots of Iron Man posters. Anyway, so if you couldn't see from behind me, right? I did this kind of on purpose. If you'll notice, I've got my Iron Man helmet back there, and I've got the heavy infantry Mandalorian pieces of armor. There's my new Han Solo and Carbonite. That's going to be one of my classroom doors. Anyway, I'm a nerd. What can I say? Back to the webpage. So you watch this video, and this video is about 10 minutes long. Then from there you watch another video, and then there's about 3 or 4 videos in place. Okay, maybe a couple more. So there's about 6 or 7 videos in place. But by the time you're done, you're going to have built this temple with absolutely knowing nothing at all in Maya. Nothing at all in Maya. And by the time this thing is done, you will have textured it. You will have a good looking little temple. You'll be able to float around it, and you'll even have some skills and abilities to push this little temple further than it is. And this is one of the lessons that I'm going to be replacing. We're actually going to be building a house instead of a temple. So enjoy this lesson while it's still around. All right. So from there, you get into, there we go, you get into modeling. And then all of these lessons are all interconnected. So you build a nail, one of the easiest little projects in the world to build. Then you got your first freestyle lesson, so the students can build a cup and straw or a garbage can. Same skills to build either one of these. Then you build a fence, then you build the hammer, the house, and then you build the environment bubble that the house lives in, that has a fence behind it, and we've got the hammer that hammers the nail into the fence that has come loose. I hope you understand the progression of everything there. Okay? Then from there we get into animation. I teach you just the basics of animation. And then from there you get to see the walk cycle. And a walk cycle is basically like you got a little character that's in his backyard, and he notices that one of the fence posts loosens up. He goes, ugh. He walks back there, walk cycle, and then goes up and begins the beginning animation, hammers the nail into the fence board, into the fence, then has trouble with it. That's the whole beginning animation lesson and the walk cycle animation. And then we do a little bit of facial animation so that you can animate him going, ugh. The ending of that story is that one board stays in place and the whole rest of the fence falls down. It's got to be a fun movie, right? All right. So then from there we get into rendering. And in rendering, what we're going to do, in rendering, you're going to learn how to render out all your little movie pieces and so forth. Then from then, everything up to rendering, ladies and gentlemen, is all before Christmas. Okay? So then after Christmas, and a little bit of rendering after Christmas as well. So after Christmas, we come in and we start working on building your story, your storyboard, your story reels. I teach you how to edit your films, how to put in some credits and so forth. And then I've got free characters for you to work with. Each and every single one of these lessons, let's just take, for example, like the hammer lesson, is a self-contained lesson. So I give you the picture of the hammer that we're going to build. You actually use that in the lesson. I give you the texture that we're going to use. And then there's the texture for the top part of the hammer. And then we have the actual videos. I told you I'm an airman guy. And then we start to physically build the hammer. And we've got the hammer mostly far along. And in the last video, you go in and you texture it and you put the actual texture onto the hammer. And then we use that hammer later on. All the lessons work together to create the movie. That's the way my entire web page is built. All right. For when you get to some advanced classes, I've got modeling and rigging in there. I've got 3D animation in there. My gaming classes, I've got these in there as well. So for gamers that want to learn how to model, I've got some really cool lessons. This is how to build Thor's hammer from because I'm an Iron Man guy. All right. This is Trendemir's sword from League of Legends. This is Big Daddy. Big Daddy is really cool. He comes to us from BioShock. And so, honestly, I have all these lessons on the web page, all for you. Beginning C#, intermediate C#, and then one of the best parts that I have all of my student films from bygone eras. So this one is a film that made it to UIL and state of Texas, made it up into, I think, like the quarterfinals. And then this one here was the year before. She actually won third in the entire state of Oklahoma with this little film here, all done in my classroom. Carly and Hoy. Carly's the little girl that went to Vancouver Film School. Hoy right now is in video game design in Texas. This is their film that made it into the International Film Festival in Athens, Greece. I'll tell you, you get an announcement like that in class, you'll ride that excitement for about a week or two. It was incredible. And then other advanced films in here. If you want to know what my beginning films look like, beginning students, these are all beginning films. And so I've put the good, the bad, the ugly all up for you so that you don't, you're not horribly intimidated. Last thing that I'm going to show you, we're going to start to shut down this video. I know I've given you a solid hour's worth of information. If you go over here and you go to links, you go to links, I've listed the top 6 animation schools in the entire United States of America. North America is what I mean to say, and in the top video game design schools there as well. Now this is the old web page. This is Digital FX book. Please keep in mind all this information is going to hit paratutor.com as well. I hope honestly that you've enjoyed this class. I hope that this session has been jam-packed with information, and I just want to put this out here. Honestly, I can't say this enough. I hope that we can work together to build animation and video game design departments across the entire state of Oklahoma. You can do this. I mean, you won't have to tackle half of the difficult things that we had to when we were trying to pioneer it down there in Texas. This is a proven method with given results, and I'm looking forward to hearing your results. I want to hear about your students that are in California, that are in New Zealand, that are working abroad, you get to go to a film premiere and see your student's name in the ending credits. That is a memory I will probably treasure for the rest of my life. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I still get to talk to Timon quite a bit. In fact, I have a standing invitation to go visit them in New Zealand. Sadly, I'm a teacher, just don't have a lot of money. Well, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your CTE summer conference. These are all of my links. I have a couple more. I'm creating and doing everything I can to try and make the stuff as amazing as possible. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've gotten a couple pieces of information on how you can build something truly amazing at your school as well. Have a great day, guys.